In point number 1, I'd like to discuss sticking combinations. Now, sticking combinations are incredibly important for percussionists on all of our instruments, sure. However, on keyboard instruments, there tends to be a little bit of a stronger opinion about what we should versus should not do, singles, doubles, so on and so forth. So you'll notice up until this point, I have alternated just about every note of the etude. However, that's all about to change based on my philosophy of stickings that I bring with me on percussion instrument to percussion instrument whenever it's appropriate. Number 1, does the sticking allow me to play with the tone that is most appropriate for the piece? Number 2, does this sticking allow me to inflect the articulation that's written? An accent, loud, soft, long, short note, whatever it is. Number 3, does it allow me to express the phrase authentically? Do I have the sense of shape and control? Lastly, and certainly not least important, does it allow me to play accurately? May I play accurately over and over with this sticking? All of those things are my filter that I run my chosen sticking through on every percussion instrument. So due to that filter, I've chosen to inflect things with doubles and singles when this main theme comes up at letter B. Here's what I mean. If I chose to alternate right off the bat, it sounds just fine at a reasonable tempo. Let's take a listen. Good tone, good control, everything is fine. If I take the tempo faster and faster and faster and get up to performance tempo, then I have to really alter a couple things. Number 1, I can play on the very edge of the upper manual. I can take my mallet shape, my setup, and I can bring the mallet shafts in a little bit more parallel, and I'm able to negotiate the pushes and all of the leaps and skips, which is great. Or I can embrace the shape that I hear in my ear and I can assign a double to it, and I can be very intelligent about where I'm playing on the bar with a double to inflect that same sense of shape, like this. Here's that same passage with my sticking nice and slow. You can hear there's that same sense of phrase and shape, but I'm using doubles to keep my hand a little bit more calm. You notice when I alternate, I'm keeping my hands moving quite a bit in the x-axis. When I'm playing with doubles, I'm keeping my hand a little bit more calm, and I'm letting my hands stay more focused in the center. Now you're gonna see as I climb through this long stream of 16th notes, I'm finally gonna get into forte territory in that third measure, and I'm going to peak on the roll. Watch how my sticking will be a mix of singles and doubles, and I will slowly go more towards singles as the volume elevates and I need a clear sense of articulation. So as I climb to that peak of the phrase, I definitely go to an alternating sense of sticking because that gives me the most power and clarity going into the roll. Now that we've arrived at the roll, we have a couple of options. We can certainly not roll at all on each of these dotted eighth notes. We can roll on one, or we can roll on both. Well, after studying lots and lots of violinists, I like the sense of detachment, D, da, D, da, D. So to me, I need a little bit of sustain on each of these dotted eighth notes. So thinking about my ultimate performance tempo, that tells me how many strokes I'm going to put in each of these rolls. Well, before I get to that point, I need to slow it down and think about what is that rhythm of the roll. For me, there are 4 notes before each 16th note in the form of a triplet. Very slowly, it looks like this. Now, as I take the tempo faster and faster, I do stylize my hand speed, meaning I compress those 4 notes so I have the illusion of sustain, a little bit of daylight, D, da, 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 da. So that would look something like this. That gives me just enough sustain, clarity in the 16th, sustain, a little bit of daylight, 16th. which brings me to one of the most challenging leaps in the entire piece, in my opinion, and that is the release of the A. The very next 16th is a low E over an octave lower. So for me, I keep my upper body very, very calm, and as I'm finishing this phrase, I make sure that I'm really guiding this release on the A, and in my peripheral vision, I try to figure out exactly where on that low E I'm gonna play, and I really try to make that leap visually before I play. Let me say that again. I need to make that leap visually, so I'm attacking this release, and now I'm visually looking with my eyes before I play the second note. Once I play that second note, then I go back to my combination of singles and doubles and inflecting all of this as it's building back up. And true to form, as it gets louder and caps off the phrase, I go back to alternating. So here's what that following phrase looks like under tempo. And you can hear the difference of articulation. So there's a little bit more of a nuanced articulation here in the low end as I'm doing the doubles and sweeping in and out of the lower manual up to the upper manual and vice versa. But then when the volume is strong and the articulation needs to be clear, then I shift back to alternating sticking. Again, don't let anyone tell you that a sticking is wrong if you're getting the best sound and achieving the best musical result. Which leads us to point number 2.